Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Distinguished guests, esteemed participants, our seasoned educators, and all the participants, it is my pleasure to stand before you this morning in order to share with you a topic on enhancing student retention, effective strategies to curb secondary school dropout rates in Nigeria. The intersections of this topic are as follows. We want to take a look at the student retention. We want to take a look at the strategies for curbing dropout. These are the two intersections of this topic. The most important point, or the focal point of this paper, is all about retaining students in our schools. How can we retain students in our schools? How can we drastically reduce the number of dropouts and increase the enrollment in our schools? I think this is the essence of the paper. It's very simple. If you want to retain your wife, what are the strategies? If you want to keep your wife with you, to enjoy your life, your house, what are the strategies? Likewise, your child or your children, if you want to retain them, what are the strategies? What are you supposed to follow? What are you supposed to put in place in order to retain them with you? The strategies are very simple. And I believe some of you know these strategies. Moving on to school, as a leader in your school, how do you retain yourself in the school? How do you retain your teachers? How do you retain employees? And how do you retain students in your school? These are the things that we want you to note them. We want you to focus your attention on these issues that I have just outlined, so that whosoever that is going back home should go back full with ideas, full with knowledge, that he may change the narrative in his school. Before I continue, I want to cite a story. I want to share with you a story. A story of a principal that established a school called Brighter Secondary School. The principal of this school, at the initial stage, experienced high turnout of enrollment. The index of enrollment is growing. But within a shortest period of time, he started experiencing dropout. The number of this index is nosediving, is going down uncontrollably. The principal was so worried, she has to call on her teachers. She summoned for an emergency meeting. Come, let us sit, let us discuss, let us brainstorm and see what are the reasons. They came together, they share ideas, and they discovered that lack of financial support is one of the factors affecting the enrollment in their school. And they observed that poor performance among students in that school is one of the factors that affects the enrollment of that school. And not only this, they discovered that or identified that lack of engagement or parents are not involved in supporting their children in getting their goals is one of the issues that stopped students, or is one of the issues that is stopping students from coming to school or even dropping out. This is what the principal did. After they might have done that, they came out with a strategy. 3 strategies. Number 1, they said they are going to talk about support. Number 2, they are going to talk about engagement. Number 3, they are going to talk about inclusion. These are the 3 strategies. Number 1, the principal of the school went out to scout for businessmen and businesswomen that will support the cause of her school, that will take care of inadequate finances or lack of finances in her institution. She went out to look for NGOs, philanthropists that are ever ready to support students that are schooling or students that want to graduate. She didn't stop there. She went to the government, telling the government that if you have any pause, if there is a pause that will support students, we are in need of this pause. We are in need of this finance or assistance. This is how they were able to tackle the issue of support. The second issue, they engaged in their school, they engaged the school counselor. Change your methodology of interacting with students. Interact with them, know their problem, identify the problems, and plan for mentoring program, workshop on mentorship. This is part of the plan that the principal came out with. And not only this, the principal brainstormed with her teachers. They decided to change the pedagogical approaches to teaching. They decided to change the methods of teaching, the approaches of teaching. They adopted things that will make the teaching thrilled, things that will make the teaching attractive. They changed the content of their curricula or curriculums in such a way that it will take or accommodate learners. You know, in planning curriculum, you need to take into cognizance the learner himself, the planner himself, and the environment. So they changed the entire content of the curriculum in order to engage the learners. In this curriculum, they said sciences now have to do with experiments. Experiments. And not only experiments, they engage in field trips. And not only in this, they engage in excursions. And not only this, they engage in hands-on activities. Other lecturers or teachers in the school, most especially the art teachers, they changed their concern or they changed their method. They adopted drama, they adopted debate, they adopted quiz, they adopted a different strategy of quoting or citing history about our future leaders. This is how the teacher came out with a robust plan to change the psyches or to change the student in their school. The next thing, they said there must be inclusion. Where are the parents that are not supporting their children? They went out to look for parents to come and support their children. Come and see what your child is doing. Interact with your child. If you cannot interact with your child face to face, there is what we call conferencing, parenting conferencing. You have your conferencing, your interaction with your children and the teachers in a given school, via online or offline. These are the strategies they engage. They went, they scout for teachers and the parents came back, they supported their children in the struggle of learning sciences and the struggle of learning art courses in that school called Brighter Secondary School Academy. The result is this. They started experiencing a turnout that is encouraging. The number of dropouts started dwindling. They tried their best to stop the rate of dropout in that school because of the strategies or a plan that the principal of that particular secondary school picked or engaged. Am I talking to someone that is ready to adopt this strategy so that he can change his school? Am I talking to people?
Yes.
Am I talking to leaders?
Yes.
Am I talking to principals?
Yes, sir.
Please adopt this strategy. This is a strategy that will change the narrative of your school. Unless, if you're not careful, unless if you're not serious about your school. I want to tell you this. When we talk of retention or student retention rate, we are talking about keeping students in your school. How do we keep students in our schools? We keep students by our attitudes. We keep students by our aptitudes. We keep them with our interests, with our culture, with what we value. This is how we are expected to keep students. If you motivate yourself and as well motivate your student, I believe the student will learn from you and they will change their behaviors toward your school. There are factors that are stopping or hampering or retarding the progress of learners or even making the learners to drop out from schools. I have mentioned one of the factors yesterday. I said some principals are quick at driving students from their institution or college. If you want to drive students, you have to be all serious. Because some students, if you drive them away, they will not come back again. How do we engage these students in order to pay their school fees and at the same time retain them in our schools? We are expected to change ourselves, revamp yourself as a leader, change your strategies in keeping students. Anything that will send your student outside or out of your school, you should not go to that thing. Some of our principals, they have this abusive mouth, abusive tendency of insulting students, and not only students, they insult their parents. And not only their parents, they insult their tribes, and not only their tribes, they insult their religion. If you are adopting this, students will not come to your school. You cannot retain them. We retain people using motivation. There is a theory called classical conditioning and operant conditioning. These two theories are theories that are teaching us how to motivate a learner, how to keep a learner. If you give a learner positive reinforcement, the learner will come closer to you. The more you stop the positive reinforcement, you adopted extinction, the student will stop coming to you. They will stop coming to your school. Assuming in your school, you share uniforms. Assuming in your school, you give students stipends that they can take a transport or buy something. Assuming in your school, you can cook lunch for them or breakfast for them. What do you expect? The enrollment in your school will drastically change because you want to keep them. You cannot keep a dog without giving a dog a meat. If you want to keep a dog, you have to give that dog something. This is what lecturers or teachers are expected to do. Principals are expected to do. So long as you want to keep students in your school, you have to dash out something to them. You have to dash out something to your teachers. You have to motivate your teachers. I've mentioned it yesterday. We have two types of motivation. We have tangible and intangible. We have extrinsic motivation and we have intrinsic motivation. These are the two types of motivation that a teacher is expected or a principal is expected to adopt. Unless if you adopt this. If you didn't adopt this, you cannot keep people, you cannot keep students with you. Let me tell you something. If you have that tendency of temper tantrum, you are a person that cannot swallow your pride. You cannot swallow your anger. You cannot repress your anger. What you normally do, you vent out your anger to your teachers, to your students. By so doing, your teachers and your students will not love you. They will not even stay under one umbrella with you because of your what? Because of your tendency of venting your anger to them. You don't seem to control yourself. You don't know how to even control your anger. In psychology, what we know, if you are angry standing, you are expected to sit down. If you are sitting down and you are angry, you are expected to lie down. If you are lying down and you are angry, you are expected to stand up, go and take gargle water in your mouth. If you can't do this, you are expected to go and look for something that cools down your mind. If you can't do this, leave the scene of that particular problem. If you cannot do this, go and take shower. Go and take some water. Put water on your head. Put water on your body. These are the things that will calm you down. These are the strategies that psychologists are saying. We should apply them if we are angry. Somebody is angry. He is not expected to talk. If you are talking, keep quiet. They say you should behave like a blind man that cannot see anything. If somebody is talking to you, just pretend as if you are not seeing him. If somebody is insulting you, wear a dumb ear. You should not even listen to him. Pretend as if you didn't see him. If somebody is touching you, you are expected to behave as if you don't have hands, you don't have limbs, you don't have legs. These are the strategies that you are expected to adopt in order to retain people in your schools. Unless if you do that. If you didn't do that, you cannot retain students in your school. The paper says, student retention rate denotes the number of students who enroll in a secondary school and successfully complete their studies through to graduation. If you retain someone in a school and that particular person progress to the level of finishing his secondary school, then you have achieved something. In Nigeria, somebody who has a secondary school can be a president of the country. Even if you don't have certificate, you can be a president of this country based on what the Constitution is saying. If you have experience of 10 years somewhere, and they agree that you have a very good mindset, you have a very good relationship with people, up to 10 years without hurting or without molesting them or without doing something that is fishy, they said you are qualified to be a president of this country. I'm not the one saying this. It's enshrined in the Constitution of this country. You are expected to look at it. We are expected to retain them, as I've said, through motivating them. There is what we call follow-up. If you want to retain your student, engage them. Go and meet their parents. Go and meet them. Pay a visit to them as a teacher, as a principal. Pay a visit to them and see whether they will not listen to you. They will listen to you and they will come back. Some will tell you, I stopped coming to your school because of your attitude, or because of the attitude of Mr. A in your school, or the attitude of Mr. Z in your school. I think these are the things that we are expected to knock them as principals. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development state that retention of students to secondary school or in secondary schools is linked to higher levels of skills and knowledge required for participation in increasingly knowledge-based society and wider global community. Unless if the society is serious about retaining their students in their colleges, in their institutions close to them. Can we stand up? Can we stand up?
Have some silence.
Everybody stand up.
What's the noise for?
I don't know.
Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. We are going to breathe in, but exhaling through your mouth, not through your nose. Breathe in, out, in, out, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands bend, hands down. Take your seat, please.